Creating the movie was a lot of fun, but it had its own difficulties. The movie has a lot of metaphorical meaning behind it, with the message of the movie being to carry on in life even when it feels like the whole world is against you. At the time of coming up with the premise of the short film, I was really struggling, but instead of dwelling on it, I decided to use it for the base idea of the film. The mountain that the acorn climbs represents the struggles that someone has to overcome in life, and the power of flight that the acorn gains atop the mountain represents how a person can feel above the clouds moments before they get hit with an unpredictable event in life, which is illustrated by the hurricane. The ocean and the seaweed illustrates how difficult it can be to escape the negative feelings that life can cause. Trying to find the natural element for the film was slightly difficult at first. I was planning on using an acorn for the character, however, I couldn't find any acorn trees, so instead I decided to use leaves as natural materials and cut them into tree shapes to use within the mountain background. I really enjoyed creating the background for the film. I painted the background with watercolours so that viewers would be drawn towards the acorn character, which is the focal point. After painting the backgrounds, I cut them out with a craft knife and then stuck layers of cardboard tabs underneath the paper to create a lightbox effect, which also declared differentiation between the different layers. For this cloud sun, I cut paper into cylindrical and spherical shapes. I used plasticine to create the acorn in a variety of different poses and sizes depending on what was required. I had to mix brown and green plasticine to create the colour that I wanted for the top of the acorn, and used a pencil to add texture on top. When I made the hurricane scene, I had to stretch out the character to make it look like the character was getting sucked into the natural disaster. However, I had to recreate this pose that the character held in the scene at the beginning because I made a mistake in the first flight scene. I forgot to add the laser cut birds, and the frame rate seemed a bit too slow for me, so it forced me to refilm it. I quite liked the performance and the outcome of the piece. However, the film moved quite fast due to the time limit set, and because I couldn't fit everything in that I wanted to, and had to rush certain scenes to make sure that it remained 30 seconds long. In hindsight, I should have made the film a lot more simpler and had a more simple premise for the film, but I'm very proud of what I created. If I could, I would change the painted freeze frames of the characters' expressions and make them slightly 3D using plasticine, so that it would be easier to, animate the expression and make it more pleasing to the eye. I am really pleased with the swimming scene at the end. I think the animation of the hands and the waves is very nice, although it was very difficult to film because the arms and legs kept falling off. If I were to remake it, I would use some sort of wire so I can easily manipulate the limbs. I'm also really happy with the flight scene because the loop that the character did was very clean, and I really enjoyed the laser cut birds and made it look very fun and very more pleasing. I had to do multiple takes of the first mountain scene, but these takes were a huge learning curve and helped to make the movie the best it could be. For the first take, I didn't stick the background down, so the layers were moving throughout the scene, but I fixed this and bought some maxing tape to stick the backgrounds down so that they wouldn't move about whilst making the film, making it easier to film. And when I removed the tape, the background wouldn't rip, so I could reuse the backgrounds if needed, saving both time and materials. On the second try, I would barely move the character in the clouds and the sun every 2 frames, which resulted in a very slow scene, so I had to remake it to make the timing better and more smoother. Finding music was very difficult, which is surprising. Most of the websites that I found either didn't let you download the music for free or didn't have what I was looking for. Eventually I found a website called Pixabay, where I managed to find the music that fit the film and also natural sounds like the birds chirping and the thunderstorm. It allowed me to download them for free and insert them into Premiere Pro. Using Premiere Pro was a learning curve. I used a lot of YouTube tutorials to expand my knowledge on the software so that I could, easily edit the film to the best of my abilities. But I'm really pretty pleased with the transitions, specifically within the first to second scene where the character begins to fly, because it almost looks like the camera's flying through the clouds next to the acorn.